Okay, in this video, I want to talk about, and this is going to be a really fast video. I want to talk about why I prefer investing in stocks, mutual funds, ETFs over real estate. Okay, I've owned and sold a bunch of homes in my life. And in a minute, I'm going to show you a picture of the very first house I bought. And I want to tell you, here's here's the five main reasons why I prefer stocks, mutual funds, and ETFs over real estate. Number one, stocks, mutual funds, and ETFs are liquid. If I want to get out, I get out. Like that, I'm out. I go into the market, I sell. Done. Goodbye. Can you do that with real estate? Can you sell real estate in a millisecond? No. No, you can't. You have to go through a whole drawn out process. You have to list it for sale. You got to throw it up on the internet. You got to take pictures of everything. You got to get an attorney to do all this crap. You might have to get a real estate agent to get it on a multiple listing or whatever you got to do. And then you got to negotiate with the seller and this and that. Forget about it. But stocks, if I want out, I'm out. Number two, there's no upkeep. If I own stocks, mutual funds, or real estate, I don't have to, put the garbage out, keep the lawn clean, keep the windows clean, keep the bathrooms clean and the house clean because I got people coming over to look at the house to see if they want to buy it. There's no upkeep. The upkeep is done by the people who are running the companies, the stocks, right? They work for me. There's no upkeep in owning stocks. Number three, low expenses. For stocks, you buy and sell a stock today, there's no commission on it. You just open up your brokerage account, you can buy and sell a stock all day, there's no commissions, right? Mutual funds, you buy a mutual fund, yeah, depending on which mutual fund you buy. And if you've watched any of my videos, you know that I recommend or prefer, and I have bought in the past, an S&P 500 index fund or ETF that has a low expense ratio, right? Does owning real estate have an expense? Hell yeah. You have property taxes, you have homeowners insurance, you have the upkeep, you have the utilities, right? And don't get me wrong, I like owning real estate, right? I've owned a bunch of homes. Me and my wife lived in them while we fixed them up and sold them. We've been pretty lucky with real estate. Um, but real estate is something you get a service out of it. You live in it. You enjoy it. You sleep in it at night instead of sleeping in the woods. Number four, I never, ever wanted to be a landlord, especially in tenant centric states. What is a tenant centric state? I guess that's a term I probably made up, but it's one of those states where they could give a crap about the landlord. They write laws that they write laws where the tenant has all the advantages and the landlord can get screwed. If you want to evict someone, it takes forever, right? I never, ever wanted to be a landlord. The homes I owned, we lived in and fixed them up and sold them when we were ready to move on. Now, you can do what you want. There's plenty of people that make a lot of money owning homes that they rent, owning condos and townhouses they rent, owning apartment buildings that they rent, and commercial property that they rent. But for me, I never wanted that hassle. All right. And number five, I guess number five is the same as number one, maybe, is you can sell quickly with no hassles. Like I said, if you want to sell a piece of real estate, you can't do it in a few seconds by logging onto your brokerage account and getting out. All right. And houses don't pay dividends. All right. I guess unless you're renting it out and you have positive cash flow. Uncle Pete, what's positive cash flow? Positive cash flow means that the rent you're collecting is more than the expenses you pay out to keep that property. It's more than your mortgage. It's more than your property taxes. It's more than your homeowner's insurance, right? If you have positive cash flow, I guess that's a dividend. But to me, I don't want to deal with people and their problems. 2 o'clock in the morning, call me up. I don't have hot water. My toilet's backed up. Get the hell out of here. The hell wants that crap? For me, 75% of my wealth has come from stocks, mutual funds, ETFs. 25% has come from real estate. And that's fine with me right now. And really, I've only owned one home at a time. I've never owned multiple homes. That might change if I decide to become a snowbird and buy a property in Florida and keep my house up in Jersey, but we will see. So let's get into some other reasons. Or I want to talk for people who want to get into real estate. They want to flip homes. There's so many TV shows out there that show you how to flip homes and how easy it is. Let me tell you, it ain't easy. And if you want to flip homes, if you're a young guy or a young gal, mostly young guys, because what I'm about to tell you, um, it takes a lot to do, strength wise. But if you're a young person and you want to flip homes, I would strongly recommend that you learn how houses are built. One of the reasons I've been able to profit successfully on the homes that I've owned is because I've done a lot of work in the home myself. It's called sweat equity. And in my case, a lot of times it was blood equity, as I will show you in a few pictures coming up of the first house I owned. How do you learn how houses are built? You get your ass on a construction site and you say, I'll work. Teach me. And you learn how to frame homes, right? You learn how to do plumbing, how to do electric. Because I'm telling you right now, plumbers and electricians are incredibly expensive. Now, I don't do plumbing, I don't do electric. But any framing, any construction whatsoever, roofing, siding, windows, doors, floors, knock down a wall, put in a new window where there wasn't a window before, put in a sliding glass door, kitchen cabinets, any carpentry stuff I would do. And I saved a ton of money. So if you want to win at the house flipping game, you have to learn how to do this stuff. And it's even better if you can learn how to do electric and plumbing. Now you're really saving a lot of money, but it's a lot of work. And now let's move on to This is the first house. My first houses. That doesn't make any sense. My first house. Hires Mill Road, Colts Neck, New Jersey. This was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house built in somewhere around 1860. And I did everything in this house. I bled in this house. I had to take a chainsaw to the oak framing that ran up the stairs in this house so that my sheetrock would lay flat, because this was all plaster and lath, this house. And when I took the plaster and lath off, I noticed all the framing in the house was these giant oak timbers that were only milled on one side. The side facing the inside of the wall wasn't even milled. And this was, of course, on Hires Mills Road in Colts Neck. So I'm assuming all the lumber they got for this house was from Hires Mill, which was down the road. This house was probably built for $50 back in 1860. But anyway, it was a bargain. If anyone knows anything about Colts Neck, New Jersey, it's a multi-million-dollar neighborhood, and I bought this house with my brother in 1994 for $125,000. I lived in it and worked on it until I sold it for $240,000. And we did everything in this house. We did a new roof. We did a new septic system because Colts Neck doesn't have sewers. And we did a new well because Colts Neck doesn't have public water. I tore everything apart. You can see in this next picture. This is what the walls look like when you take the plaster off. That's the lath, the wooden strips. And you can't see it in this picture, but behind this lath are oak timbers that the lath is nailed to. And I'm going to tell you right now, anyone who knows anything about construction, these oak timbers were not 16 on center. They were not even 2 foot on center. There was no center. Nothing was going to work out here as far as modern day sheetrock. So I had to reframe everything. I tore these windows apart, put new windows in. And also, behind this lath, I didn't know it at the time, was about 150 years of mouse shit that I had to shovel out into giant garbage bags. So tell me now how you want to flip houses, right? Here's my advice to you. Don't buy old houses. All right? I learned the hard way. Luckily, we made a bunch of money on this house. We were able to sell it. All right. Here's another picture. This is where half of the plaster is taken down with the lath behind it. This house was a ton of work. And I probably, when we were done with this house was only 1,200 square feet. I think when we were done with it, with the roof and everything we tore down from it, and I think we had at least maybe 2 30-yard dumpsters. I can't remember exactly. Maybe 2 20-yard dumpsters. I don't remember. But I remember getting more than one dumpster. So my advice to you is don't buy old houses. Why? Why don't you buy old houses? Because newer houses are built better. They have 16 on center framing. If you don't know what 16 on center framing is, go look up a video on YouTube. What is 16 on center framing? It means when you go to Home Depot or Lowe's and you buy sheetrock, it's going to land on a stud. In this house, there was no such thing. Right? Half the basement in this house was dirt, and it had a tree trunk holding up the main beam. It wasn't even a real milled girder, and it certainly wasn't a steel girder either, a lolly column. It was just a tree trunk that they stuck in there into the ground, right? So, getting back to this, why I prefer investing in stocks, mutual funds, ETFs over real estate. Take a look, folks. You really want to go through this? You really want to try it and make a killing? Buying an old house, fixing it up, and selling it? And I'll tell you another thing that happened with this house. When you have an old house like this, sometimes the surveys, the tax maps are all screwed up. Nobody has any idea what the property you own. So when I went to sell this house and they did a title search, the title search was all screwed up. And my attorney came back and said, we got a problem. He called me at work. I was at work one day. He called me and said, we got a problem. I said, what's the problem? He said, well, there's a title problem. I'm like, what, are you kidding me? A title problem? How often does that happen? Really rare. And he said, well, there's 48 feet by 260 feet that the title says you don't own. I'm like, well, I got title insurance. And by the way, I put a new well on that property that you're telling me I don't own now. So anyway, we went through 7 or 8 months back and forth as they were researching the title, and had all these people had to go back in time, and finally they said, okay, yeah, all right, we figured it out. Yeah, you own all this property. Well, thank God, now I can sell the house 8 months later after I had it sold. So don't buy old houses. All right? They're not worth it. Let some other schmuck buy an old house and deal with it. Buy a newer house. Preferably a house built after 1972, because I don't know about your state, probably the same as mine, but in my state, anything before 1972, you have to deal with possible lead paint, right? And anything built after 1972 should be 16 on center construction framing. All right, so that's it. I guess it didn't work out to a quick video, but that's why I prefer investing in stocks, mutual funds, and ETFs over real estate. They are highly liquid. There's no upkeep. There's low expenses. I never wanted to be a landlord, and you could sell them quickly with no hassles. I don't have to deal with buyers. I don't have to deal with real estate agents. I don't have to deal with attorneys. I don't have to deal with title companies. I don't have to deal with the buyer's lenders and all their BS. It's just me and the stock market. And the stock market says, click this button to sell, and you are out. And that's what I like. All right, this is Uncle Pete. You've been listening to Uncle Pete's Wall Street. See you in the next video.